We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You're receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio. It's time to hear the colors and see the music. I am your host, Jonah Bolt. Today is October 8th, 2014. We had an amazing eclipse last night for all those who did catch it. I had several friends try to catch it, but could not because of the clouds. And I wasn't able to catch it myself because I just did not wake up, so I was in a dead sleep. But amazing eclipse last night. We will be having Kelly later on in the show to talk about the astrology importance of the eclipse and talk about a little bit more about what went on last night. We also have Ryan Dernick coming on first to talk about some latest news and updates, talk about the Ebola updates, some ISIS, lots of earth changes going on. And on the last part of the show, we have our third guest, which is going to be DJ Michael Scalar, talking about sound healing with Michael Scalar and scalar tones, what that is. So with that, let's jump to our first guest and just get the news and updates going for the day. We have Ryan Matthew Dernick. Ryan, thanks for coming on the show. How are you this morning?
Very well, Jenna. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Had a good night's sleep. Sorry I missed the eclipse last night, but a lot of people took pictures and videos, lots online.
Yeah. A lot of people caught it early this morning and caught views of the eclipse as it came in the shadow of the Earth. And people may not know this, also there's going to be a loop coming up in this month, and so you got to stay abreast for that. And or a solar eclipse, I'm sorry, a partial solar eclipse.
And when's that? What's the date of that, the solar eclipse, Ryan?
The solar eclipse is going to go on October 25th, I believe.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we also got lots of earth changes that happened yesterday. Could this be related to the eclipse, Ryan? We got a big, powerful eclipse happening, big super moon, blood moon. How does that affect, we know that affects the planet, but how did it affect the planet yesterday? We see an uptick, a lot of things happening. What happened with earth changes?
Yes, there was an earthquake. There was an earthquake yesterday in China, and that caused the collapse of several buildings in Yunnan province, and unfortunately injured 300 people and killed one. Initial report that it was a 6.4, and those were downplayed to a 6.0, and it did trigger several aftershocks thereafter in regards to that earthquake in China. And aside from that earthquake, there were several other earthquakes, not as noteworthy, of course, magnitude-wise, but there was a 2.5 in Arkansas, which is most likely related to fracking, a 3.2 in Alaska, in Kodiak, Alaska, a 3.1 in Cherkov, it was the island, Alaska, a 4.6 in Indonesia, a 4.9 in North Greenland, a 4.7 south of Panama, a 3.4 in the Dominican Republic, a 4.7 in Madeira, Mexico, and a 3.2 in Puerto Rico. And those earthquakes I just spoke about just now are earthquakes that just happened in the last 24 hours or less. So there's been a constant seismicity going on, and as in other news, aside from that, the Space Weather Center has been opened in the United Kingdom, and this is to prevent against any extreme solar storms, as we've talked about, because those have the ability to wipe out the whole power grid. And so they invested 4.6 million euros into the Space Weather Operations Center, and it opened today, and it's protecting Britain's economy and infrastructure from the onslaught and possibility and likelihood eventually of severe space weather and destructive solar activity. So aside from that, other news that's been going on in regards to other seismic activity and volcanic activity, in Indonesia, I said there was a 4.3 for whether or not that was interrelated or just a side note to the volcano that just erupted yesterday. The Sinabung volcano erupted in Indonesia, and hundreds of people have fled their homes around Indonesia's Mount Sinabung volcano after a series of eruptions over the past 4 days. So this has been a 4-day ongoing eruption. So the ring of fire is very active, as it usually is, really active comparatively to the other areas around the world. The volcano has been active since September 2013, and it killed 16 people erupting in February, killing that many people and forcing thousands to evacuate their homes on the western island of Sumatra. But no casualties are reported this week from the latest onslaught of eruptions in that area of the world. Aside from that, Dow Jones, as you may or may not calling, it did drop 270 points, and this is amid global worries. Do you have anything from Middle Eastern uncertainties in regards to ISIS and their conquest, and them being in Kobani right now, just adjacent to Turkey? And the Turkish army is kind of taking a kind of a wait-and-see approach. They're waiting to see what's going to go on. Are they going to pour over into Turkey? I mean, I think they would most likely do so. But what it's looking more and more like is that Turkish military bases and Turkish airports will be utilized by the United States to do bombing operations in the event that it shows that ISIS is going to take Kobani. And as specialists have been saying right now, Kobani is a big stronghold and pivotal point. And once they do take that area, they will commence using the Turkish airport as a possibility to do bombing raids in that campaign that's going on between the Turkish
just to interject, we well know that the U.S. government, as well as all the governments, know what's going on. They haven't sent in ground troops. They've done a couple bombing campaigns, which really doesn't stop anything because they're embedded with the community. They're in, you're not going to be able to stop them like that. So, do you think it's going to happen and pour over into Turkey? Probably, because the ISIS wants to reclaim the entire region for themselves as an Islamic state and community. So, they're not going to stop. They're going to pour over to wherever they can.
Yep, definitely. And then in other news, aside from that, there were the 10 biggest threats to the global economy, as we said, but there's other threats as well. Because the IMF is basically saying there's only a 1% chance of a recession over the next year, and lately a lot of analysts have been saying that the IMF has been a little improper in their forecasting, and the latest World Economic Outlook from the IMF puts chances of growth in global output falling below the recession. A
recession? We've been in a recession for like 10, 15 years. Right? What are they talking about? The recession's been since basically I look at since 9/11. When we got hit on 9/11, when we got hit by basically our own government and Mossad on 9/11, the recession went to down the toilet hole. And since then, it went up a little, but it's all inflated markets. It's all fake. They're like, oh yeah, house pricing is up, housing. Meanwhile, the houses are empty. The foreclosure rates are low. It's all inflated, just like the NASDAQ. They control it. I mean, corporations make huge announcements that they're cutting their whatever, and then the stock stays the same. I mean, it's such a game. We see all these big announcements. The markets don't even change. It's inflated. It's fake. It's just like the fiat currency everyone's using, the dollar, based upon derivatives, which are based upon nothing. It's just a made-up currency, and every fiat currency collapses. So we know that's coming, and they know this. These are just more things to be aware of, everybody. That's why we talk about it, because be aware that these things are man-made. They're made to suppress, put people in fear. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all this stuff, all CIA, man-made, all fear-mongered to keep everyone trapped and locked down. So hang on right there, Ryan. We're going to cover some more news and updates, lots of more stuff to cover. We're going to hear some more DJ Michael Scalar, who's our third guest today on the show. We'll be right back. Right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. We're now joined by Ryan, Matthew, Dernick, going over the latest news and updates. And for the latest news and updates, you can check out Ryan's website, bellwetherpost.com. for Ryan's latest news and articles, as well as starseedradio.com. Check that out. You can also check out his feed on there, as well as my Twitter feed. And you can also like our Facebook page. It also helps out. And support the show any way you can. We really appreciate it. We're now reaching 162 countries off iTunes being downloaded. And there's only 192 countries I found out. I was always telling people it's 300-something, but I just found out the other day, Ryan, there's 192 countries. So we're almost in every country in the world, bro. It's popping off, dude. It's going off. So I'm excited. Ryan, what's next in news updates?
Well, back to what I was saying earlier about the eclipse, I just wanted to, the date was right, October 23rd, and that's a partial solar eclipse, and it will be visible in the in northern parts of the United States as well as Canada. So stay abreast of that, and hopefully you can actually get a view of it, and they're not clouds obstructing your area during October 23rd. But on to other news. Basically, with the whole Ebola outbreak going on, I'm going to call it an outbreak, a preemptive, but I would say it looks like it's an outbreak to me because it's starting to expand its geo-infectious horizons, if you will, as to how far it's gotten now. You have a lady in Madrid who was exposed to a gentleman, a priest, who died recently, a couple weeks ago, and this nurse, she's contracted it. That was the first transmission, as everyone knows, outside of Africa. And then there was also another individual that they just had in Turkey that they were transporting, and they looked like their hazmat precautions in Turkey looked a little more intense than ours. They had them in an incubation transport, basically a coffin, if you will, and transport vessel that had that the hazmats could transport more easily, so they didn't transmit the infectious disease everywhere. I commend Turkey for how they're really taking precautions for this very deadly disease, which has now claimed up to 3,400 lives in Western Africa. And but the U.S. is still reluctant to issue a travel ban, and they're saying,
don't worry, everything's cool. The U.S. is like, it's okay, guys, it's only Ebola.
Yeah. So some prominent Obama administration critics made the argument this week, calling for a travel ban, and not only that there's even congressmen and women, and specifically Congressman Alan Grayson, Florida Democrat, who wants the U.S. government to go further. He says that they would propose legislation calling for the ban for a flight ban if the administration continues to avoid one totally. I think that there has to be more protocols. They're saying they're going to do extensive screenings. Do you have a fever? I mean, we're going into flu season. A lot of people are going to be like having the sniffles and a cough. So how can you say, oh, do you have a fever? And the fact is that the other worries about not putting a flight ban on are then people will not really convey or tell where they came from.
So you mean Ryan, that there's this big Ebola outbreak and like thousands of people are dying, and the U.S. will not put a flight ban on? Is that what's going on?
But Western African countries have limited flights out of specifically Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, because they don't want. They want to try to contain it because it's all about containment and isolation.
So the West African countries know that this is serious, and they're like, "Yo, shut down all the airlines, limit flights." But the U.S. is like, "It's all good, open borders, baby. Come on in." Is that what's going on? Come on in.
To a degree, I mean, our border with Mexico and the United States is like Swiss cheese on a side. That's a side topic right there. But yeah, I mean, you could say that we're very porous and very vulnerable to infectious diseases like Ebola, and especially when the easiest way to communicate them is our airports, and that's just the one, I think, caveat that we have to take into consideration. You're traveling, you have to take your own safety in your own hands and take those precautions that you deem as being necessary.
I mean, if there's any listeners out there that agree with me and Ryan by saying that America needs to take a stronger stance with a lot of things, borders, call the station, 800-313-9443. Because it's just ridiculous. Why would they not put a flight ban on when there's a huge Ebola outbreak, and even the African countries are putting limiting flights and stuff like that, and we haven't even done that. And we have guys like the guy in Texas that have traces of the Ebola virus that just came from over there, and yet we're still allowing people to come in like it's okay. And if anyone's been in custom borders lately, I traveled back to Costa Rica 9 times this year already. Borders Protection and Borders Patrol here, SUCKS. really bad. You're standing there for like an hour, 2 hours, people coughing. I mean, it's not like it's fast. I mean, germs everywhere. Definitely, we need to do something about the Ebola, in terms of limiting flights and things like that. But hey, we got open borders, we got this, we got everything else. So just come on in. It's okay.
Exactly.
We'll deal with the after fact. That's what America likes to do. Clean up the mess after they created it, or try to at least.
Yep.
On to other news. Ebola, we know, is man-made. They're watching this stuff go down, hoping it spreads because that's what they want to do. And
then other news, like Japan and the U.S. are revising their defense plans with eye on China, and this is over those islands as we've been talking about for over a year now, with the sensitive guns, as the Japanese call them, and the Dasu Islands, as the Chinese call them. And these revisions, in regards to how they're going to deal with the defense in regards to China, are the first since 1997, and this comes of, again, a time of heightened Japan-China tensions over these islands, which are really in regards to natural resources that are under these islands. That's really what the name of the game is, and that's why this big conflict, or you could say like more of a geopolitical skirmish right now, if you will, over these islands is lightly going on, and North Korea's missile and nuclear weapons development is also a cause for alarm as well. But what we need to address,
with North Korea, we know that his sister took over, right? That's what's going on over there right now. Do we have any updates on that?
No updates on that. They still think two, and they don't know where Kim Jong-un is in any actual physical sense.
I did say it last week. I'll say it again. The planet does need more feminine energy in the planet, so it doesn't surprise me that his sister took over, because that's what really we need. If we didn't have this masculine energy in charge of everything, we wouldn't have all these wars. And I'm not saying that if you make women president, all the wars would stop or anything, but there'd be a lot less tension. There'd be a lot less decision-making based upon, the male ego, the more male dominant, the more male, just how we are in general, versus a female who's going to take more time, think about it, really come from it with not less ego, but more of an internal motherly type decision making, so that's more what we need on the planet. I mean, that's obvious. There's wars, bombings going on everywhere, and feminine female energy would definitely help, I believe and feel, stabilize a little bit of what's going on and taking it away from more of the masculine energy. And that's really what needs to happen more on the planet, is more feminine energy needs to stand up, stand in power, and put down the male masculine energy, where we don't have these, basically, I can't even say the word on the air, but these, fights, these guys just like, our tanks are bigger than yours. It's just retarded. They know these wars are going on. The elite are starting these wars.
Exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
It's a big shenanigan, and that's why we talk about it. Be aware of it. Spread the news that, hey, this is going on, the Ebola, but it's man-made. Hey, this is going on, 9/11 happened. Hey, but guess what? Man-made. People need to be aware of this stuff. So the more people that realize that this whole system is rigged, the whole system. We say this all the time, Ryan. Education, food, this, that. The whole system is rigged. We need to create a new one. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. So people get upset, angry, whatever it is. I've had enough, and they're going to make change. That's the only way it's going to change, is if everyone realizes what's going on, wakes up, and does
activism, not activism.
Yes.
Not passivism.
Yes. Ryan, as always, man, thank you, brother, for coming on the air. Check out bellwetherpost.com for Ryan's latest news and articles. You can also check out starseedradio.com. And, of course, like always, thank you, Ryan. Stay out there. Stay vigilant, not fearful, and keep reporting the news that you're doing. You're doing a great job. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jonah. Much love.
All right. We'll be right back. Here's some more Scalar. Welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Thank you, Ryan, again for the latest news and updates. Again, check out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. We also want to give a shout-out to Republic Broadcasting Network. Everybody out there, if you haven't supported the network yet, do us a favor. Go to republicbroadcasting.org or RBN and check us out, support the network, and support the show. Check out our Facebook page. Starseedradio.com has a link to that as well as the latest news and updates. Now moving on to our next guest to cover some astrology updates with our amazing Eclipse Moon, Red Moon we had last night. We have Kelly Anderssonn joining us on the show. Star Sister Kelly, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jonah. I'm wonderful today. How are you?
Excellent. Doing good. We started seeing some pictures and videos come up all over the internet on the eclipse last night, and I know you didn't have a chance to see it, correct? It was cloudy where you were, too?
Yeah, it was cloudy this morning, but I spent some time with the moon last night before I went to bed to be late, and it was a gorgeous night out here. It seems like there was a few people I saw on Facebook that saw a rainbow around the moon last night, a rainbow ring, and I got to see that here outside of Asheville. The clouds were moving so quick. It was just a very dynamic night, and it kind of mirrored the dynamic energy that's present right now in the sky, I feel.
So, Kelly, let's start off with explain to the listeners or just give us an overview. What does the eclipse, let's talk about yesterday, mean specifically, energetically to the planet? How did it affect people? What was the conjunction? What went down last night astrologically?
Well, you can imagine that eclipses have been seen by man, of course, since the dawn of time. Like, they're the one astrological event that we've been able to witness and be like, holy, crap, there's something happening in the sky. So it's always made a big impact on humanity for as long as we've seen them. This particular one last night was not just an alignment of the sun and the moon and the earth, as most eclipses are, but there was Uranus that was perfectly aligned with it as well, holding its crazy face far out there. And so, and a lot of other aspects in the sky that were really powerful. So we would want to look back at, like, what was happening with our lives back in the spring of last year when we had an eclipse. I don't know if you remember that. A lot of people got to see it in March. I think it was around March 15th. And so astrology follows these cycles. So we want to pay attention to the things that were happening then, and then notice what's happening right now in our lives. Because I'm sure everyone's noticing some things happening right now in their lives.
Absolutely. Even last night, my own mother and stepfather, they were like, oh, my stomach hurts, I feel sick. And I was like, well, there's this huge eclipse moon going on tonight. It doesn't surprise me. And then today they're both fine. Energetically is what we're talking about. And why we talk about astrology for the listeners out there that aren't up on astrology is because the planets and stars and moons all affect our emotional balance, our electromagnetic balance. We all are tied into the cosmos, so it's very important. Now, Ryan mentioned earlier there's a big, not an eclipse coming up, but a big, what was it? I forgot. I think he said next month, not an eclipse, but there's something else energetically coming up with the planets, and I'm drawing a blank right now, I can't remember, but energetically, when these things happen, where can people go, Kelly? Where's a good reference place where people can go to see what upcoming events are happening in the astrology world? Like, for the listeners out there, where can they go and check to see what's coming up so they can sort of maybe get prepared or know that on this weekend there's a big eclipse they may feel a little off? Where can someone go to find information like that?
Well, these days there's a lot of really amazing astrology. I'm sure a lot of us have friends on Facebook that are always posting them. Mystic Mama is awesome. The Leo King on YouTube that I find just amazing. He calls it inspirational.
I like him too. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, he's got great energy. He helps us make sense of the patterns that are happening. Ties them to bigger patterns, says what was happening then in your life. There's a lot of really good astrological resources out there these days because I think a lot of people are starting to notice that this actually matters. We exist in this portal. The planets at each moment are making their energetic impact on us, as we spiral through space with them crazy traveling around us, So they're happening whether we're paying attention to it or not, and we can see that in the unfolding of our lives. People can feel that, and people are starting to ask, what's happening. They want to know a little more because it's getting crazy.
Absolutely. And a good website I want to throw out there, too, is astrologyzone.com. And my father, that's Susan Miller, my father has been reading her for over 20 years. And I read Susan's astrology updates. And I like, just for listeners, personally, I like to read my horoscope after the month is over. That's just me. I like to compare my horoscope to after I've already lived through my month of experience, October. At the end of October, then I'll read my October horoscope just to match it up and see how close and how well along Susan predicted it. And Susan has been like 90-95% on point. I mean, her readings are free. You can go on there and see she has like 20-30 paragraph breakdowns of the month. So anyone out there that's interested in astrology or don't even know what it is, check out astrologystone.com. Susan's awesome. I've been reading her for years. My father's been reading her for like 20 years. So there's a lot of websites out there like that, and ones like Kelly mentioned, the Leo King, that you can go and just learn about this stuff, and you'll see energetically on these certain dates, you'll start to notice different feelings, and it's because of the planet's alignments and things like that. Now,
I'll just say, I love Susan Miller. I just want to say that when I first got into astrology, I made some plans of my life by Susan Miller, and I'm glad that I did.
Yes,
it's really amazing.
She is so
I have friends
point. It's like crazy.
If she's a day late on sort of seeing her astrological forecast, I have friends that text me every month. Susan's late. What's up with Susan? Because I recommend her really highly too. So thank you for plugging her.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to get Susan on the show eventually. I've actually been meaning to contact her for a while, so I think it's time, because she's just on point with reading the stars, and it's just amazing reports that she gives you, full of depth and dates and everything and this and that, what to do, when to sign contracts. You know, these things that we're talking about are very good for stuff like that. Like, don't sign contracts in these dates, or Mars in retrograde, don't buy electronics. You know, there's certain times and periods where things are better to do than others, and by having that guidance, you can make better, well-informed decisions. It's like an investor. To me, if any investor, a stock market, a commodities, whatever, is not watching like the astrology, then they really don't know too much about, you know, what's going on in terms of thinking and planning out what can happen in the future. If I was an investor investing into gold and things like that, I'd be reading astrology to know when I should sell, when I should buy, when are good dates to sign contracts, when are good dates to not, you know, things like that. That's why we talk about it, you know, is because it's a guidance system. It's here to help guide us. Ancients used it, we need to use it.
Ronald Reagan didn't make a single decision when he was president without consulting his astrologer. Actually, it really annoyed all of the
Really? I did not know that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Not a single decision, didn't sign a single contract, didn't make a single trip. His astrologer was more in control of his administration than anyone in the entire world.
Wow, if that is not a fun fact for everyone listening out there, Ronald Reagan did not make any decisions without using his astrologer. And when we talk about this stuff on the show, Kelly, I always tell listeners out there, Google this stuff, YouTube it, check it out. We're not just, you know, pulling stuff out of the air and making things up. What we talk about is research and stuff we found out to be truth, and we're just passing it along to everybody else. So, of course, do your own homework, check this stuff out, check the sites Kelly said, learn about astrology. If Ronald Reagan, the ex-president, used an astrologer for every decision, that goes to show you what we're talking about. It's very important. Use it. It's here to help guide us.
And I think it is, and I mean, it's a really amazing process learning your own natal chart. I would say go see an astrologer definitely first off, so you kind of, you know, have a little bit of a leg up. But I got into astrology just by Googling, like, you know, their images. You look at this chart, it makes no sense, but you just Google the symbols and then put it all together. And that process of Googling was so enlightening for me. Then I started getting books, you know, and getting more into it, and going to classes. But yourself through astrology just makes so much sense. Like, it's a way of self-acceptance, of accepting your family, your lovers, you know. You just say, okay, this is the imprint that you're working with, and this is what I'm working with. We all have shadows and light, you know, within it. And
absolutely,
really
and I got my astrology pulled up right here for Capricorn on Susan Miller's site. I'm going to take a glance at it after the show, but she's great with dates and everything, and really mapping it out. And again, that's why we talk about astrology. It's a good navigation system through everything in life, because the stars are aligned to align our entire path in life with them. We are the stars are us, we're made of the same matter, and they're aligned to guide us through life for this experience, and that's why it's so important. Kelly, as always, thank you so much for coming on the show. Star Sister, I'll see you soon in Asheville doing a 5-city tour. starting Friday. So we will see you soon in those beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm looking so forward to it. Thank you again for coming on.
I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks, Jonah.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Here's some more DJ Michael Scalar, who's joining us next on the show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. We can always hear the colors and see the music. That's a sample from DJ Michael Scalar's mix, who is now joining us on the show, talking about a very, very important topic, health benefits from new technologies. And today we're going to be talking about scalar technology. And joining us with that is Michael, DJ Star Brother Scalar. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you?
Hey, brother. I'm doing all right. How about you?
Oh, doing good. Just keeping the airways alive and getting out as much information as we can. And with that, you're here today to talk about your new technology with your EE system. So give the listeners, Michael, as always, a little background on what you do with the EE system and a little bit about the scalar technology.
Well, EE system is a bioscalar technology that generates a bioactive field of energy that allows for cellular regeneration. Essentially, you're plugging into a field of energy that raises the energy of your body, so cell millivoltage, keeping you in optimal 70 to 90 millivolts. That's the easy nutshell there.
Excellent. So these scalar waves, technology, frequencies that we see popping up all over now are basically sound healing in a way, using computers to generate frequencies to help heal the body, correct?
There's a bunch of different people utilizing the term scalar. Sound healing more so just is sound healing in itself. Scalar comes from the quantum physics side of things, so generating electromagnetic fields at equal opposing distances to create cancellation waves, which then create a zero-point energy or scalar field, is essentially what you're gunning for there with actually calling something scalar.
Now, let's jump into what you're doing and using with your scalar technology. You yourself have been putting together events, parties, where you're using this scalar technology to enhance people's experience at the actual event or dance party or festival, whatever it may be. Talk a little bit about the system that you designed and how have the responses been from using it, with the public.
Well, I created the 0 Point Festival, which was designed to be Las Vegas' first transformational festival. So transformational festivals are very popular on the West Coast in being music events that also showcase health or spiritual or meditative side of things. So during the day, people will use the technology in what we call the shaman dome, which is a geodesic dome that we install the technology on, and then at night people will dance and do the whole shamanic ritual of moving their bodies in a way of moving energy, so they release things through that process. So the 0 Point scalar technology at the festival, along with the music, it's a full combination. So you wake up, you do yoga, you learn some things from some of our various immerse yourself in the technology, and then dance all your things off your body.
And it's so important these days when we see so many things out there, chemicals poisoning our body, things like that. These new technologies are not just used for fun, like you're giving people the experience at like a transformational festival, but they're used to really clean up our atmosphere in terms of everything that's going on. I mean, because the scalar technology helps against everything, free radicals, this, that, to really purify not just yourself, but your area, correct? Because these scalar tones and frequencies put out like a protection bubble, sort of say.
Yeah, and actually there's a fun little story from this event we had just a weekend ago, really. We had one of the biggest monsoons of the season in Las Vegas, and all around our event, it was dry at our event. It was really funny, and we looked all around our event 360 degrees. There was lightning and rain everywhere except our event. It was almost like we had a bubble over our event. It was a real
wow.
in saying that, creating a space where, you're not really at effect of some of these things. It was really just a physical sight of it, because normally you don't see energy waves, but when you have a monsoon 360 degrees around your event, it's a real trip.
Wow, that's what's up. And I know that when I first read into you, met up with you down in Florida, that you had told me that the Scalar system down there put out I think it was a 15-mile radius bubble. And those type of things are so important to have in a community, meaning one person from one community can have a system and really shield and help heal the entire community just by having one of these systems localized in a community. I mean, so to me, right away, I saw a need in terms of getting these Scalar machines and devices out to the public in communities, because you're not just healing yourself and your family in the intermediate home, but you're also helping heal the entire community, in a sense, correct?
It does have a nice little bubble to it, what we call the null zone, where you're not at effect of electromagnetic pollution, which is one of the major stressors for people's bodies these days. It's just the amount of negative affecting frequencies that hit your body, so cell phones, standard 60-cycle energy, radio waves, microwaves, all these things actually are not beneficial to your body. They're actually bad. So when you can create a space where you're not an effect of those, you actually have time to heal and more time to be healthy.
Absolutely. Now, where do you see Scalar technology going, Michael? You're now doing these sound healing light parties. You're doing this, taking the Scalar to the public, doing these transformational festivals. Where do you see it going? Do you see it going mainstream? Do you see it going where we still have to keep it underground because people are just turned off to this type of stuff? I mean, what's the response been? Where do you see Scalar technology going in the next few years?
I definitely see it picking up. Right now we're working with some veteran groups to try and get the technology in for vets because they have a whole list of health issues. So some really big projects we're working on just to do it for veteran centers. And then, the mainstream becoming more awake with it. Our Transformational Festival is a great example of that, of just how open people were, because our typical market has been people that are unhealthy. So not the younger demographic, and this event was more of a younger demographic, and they're really hungry for this. They feel it, they know what it is, they can sense it, and they're very open to it because they're much more open-minded than the previous demographics that we've reached out to before.
Got it. Yeah, excellent. And Michael, in terms of your own music and stuff, you also DJ and you love putting out that light and sound, as many of us do with just electronic music. Talk a little bit about some of the stuff you got upcoming, your events, things like that, and where can people find out more information about your mixes, your music, because you also put Scalar tones and frequencies into your mixes, correct?
Typically at events I'll use things like our charged product on the mixing board and things like that. And then as far as music production, I put it in that. People can find me by just Googling Michael Scalar. I'm out there everywhere. Upcoming events, playing Life is Beautiful Festival here in Las Vegas coming up, and then we have one of our mini Zero Point events November 8th. I'm working on some other smaller dates for different things as well.
Excellent. And when you talk about your mixes, stuff like that, people could find you on SoundCloud to get some of your mixes?
Yeah, just Google Michael Scalar. You'll find SoundCloud, Facebook. SoundCloud's basically where all my music is. I think there's some things on YouTube as well as far as videos of past events, and I think there's a song I produced and that's floating out there too. It's everywhere.
Excellent. And just before we go, because we're almost out of time, when you talk about the Transformational Festivals, because a lot of listeners out there may not know what that is, Transformational Festival is, to me, is a gathering, a tribal gathering of people that share a similar vision, a similar acceptance, a similar love vibration for collective creativeness, of expression, of coming together to form new systems. Because we all know, like everyone protesting around the world, that this system set up from start to finish is not a system for the people or really by the people anymore. And these transformational festivals give people an outlet to experience a new way of being and living and co-creating together. What would you say the most important thing is for transformational festivals for you, Michael?
The thing is the community. Most of these events take place away from towns. You might have weak self-service. So it doesn't really force, but it engages people to be part of the community again. people walk around, they talk to people, they make new friends, they learn new things with people, they dance together. It's all community. It's about being one with the people around you. And that's the biggest problem in the world right now, is there's so much disassociation. So many people are disassociating themselves for whatever reason, and they just don't reach out to their fellow man around them. They don't have relationships. So creating relationships and community is the biggest thing for me with these events.
Excellent. Well, Michael Scalar, thank you so much for coming on and spreading the light and love like you do. And for all the listeners out there, check out Michael's work and, of course, his 0 Point Energy Transformational Festivals. Michael, Star Brother, thank you so much for coming on the air. We'll have you back.
All right, much love.
Aloha. And here you go, some more DJ Michael Scalar's mix, and we'll talk with you and be with you. No fear.